Good morning. It's Ginny
Hello.
and Tim with, you want to say it or me?
Top 10 tech trends of 2022.
we were trying to practice it because it's like a tongue twister.
Yeah, it's definitely a statement there. But yeah, so we're going to go over some of the different key stories of 2022 and highlights and things like that that you may have seen in the news or things like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah, and I'll probably cover it in our newsletter. I'm not sure. Our newsletter is evolving.
forever changing.
It's forever. Well, right now we're in kind of like in between. We'll talk about that right here.
Okay. Between like two different platforms.
Two different platforms and two different sources.
Right.
And so I'm kind of like, piecing it together. Mm-hmm. So actually, I think this is a good idea. I'll put some more tech trends in my newsletter. Okay. So make sure you get on my newsletter at dstech.net under news, and then email security@dstech.net if you're a business and you want us to scan your network.
Yes.
For all the bad things.
Yep.
So
make you aware of just how vulnerable you may be or maybe not be. Just
right.
Free scan. So
we have lots of interesting tech trends.
Yep. So this is a list that I kind of just top of my head. I threw some stuff down and looked at different things more notable. I'm not going to look so much at like the hacks and the negative things, but more just like maybe technology, the way things are changing, things like that. So the number one thing that I personally have seen in the tech world is all those AI programs you've seen out there. There's the one, I think it's called like Dolly, for like painting, where you can type in, draw me a picture of a football stadium where one team is losing and when the other team wins right at the end, and it'll like create a picture just based on your text prompt. And it does, some of it's kind of weird, some of it's good, but it's evolving with anything and it's doing more learning.
Interesting.
And so with the photos, it can get to a point where, you as an artist, there's a whole kind of debate of like AI art versus real artists right now going on and stuff. And in reality, AI is never going to be able to do the creativity that human does. Because I look at art, you almost have like a feeling that's attached to it that the person was feeling when they were drawing it, things like that. And AI just is not going to be able to reproduce that, in my opinion. So it's going to be a long way off till AI is taking over everything. But you can do a quick little prompt to get, maybe little graphics made for your website, quick little things like you want, make me 20 graphics for DS Tech, and the AI will, spit out 20 graphics, and you could pick and choose one that might be good, and then take that as a template and then have a manual artist adjust it and refine it later, possibly. Things like that. And not only just with art, they're doing the same thing now with text and news stories, where you see the whole thing where, if you're a student, you could go to this AI program and be like, I need a 4-page essay about the American Revolution or whatever it is, and it'll just create a quick essay that's never been created before for you. Granted, it's mediocre. It's not that good. You're still going to want to refine it and things like that. But the schools and teachers are going to have a hard time now with students that are able to use these chat programs to generate stuff versus, it's not going to be plagiarized because it's never been made before, but it's still not their own. It's kind of a weird thing we're going to be going into where these AI programs
oral or something, or like make a video, or
right. You have to give an oral presentation on your speech now when you're so I don't know how you're going to do it. It's going to be an interesting time we're going into the future. Thankfully, I'm not a teacher. I don't have to deal with it, but AI is definitely taking a lot of tasks that people have done, and they're trying to kind of almost make them quicker. Well, they'll give you the quick template, the quick rough draft, and then you can take it and then kind of alter it a little bit later and refine it. So that's kind of the big thing with AI coming down the line there.
But again, you can think about that with writing, like you mentioned, as creative.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Is it going to be just robotic facts, or is it going to be like, it's going to be hard for AI to create a story that has like, I think, a lot of human emotion tied to it and feeling. It's going to string together a lot of things to make a story, but maybe it won't be as good. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't really played with the writing ones as much as the art ones, but that's just kind of what I see.
Interesting. The thing I've seen is like blog posts.
Yes.
I've seen ads for ads.
Yes, exactly.
They'll write your ads for you.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Give us $20 or whatever it is, and they'll quickly generate a bunch of articles for you and things like that. And again, it's never perfect. You always want to take it, refine it with a human eye, and edit it and stuff like that. But it's definitely going to be in the next couple of years a big trend taking over a lot of the media we consume is going to be possibly generated in AI and all that kind of stuff. A big one that I remember was the James Webb Telescope that was put up. Now, technically, it launched on December 25th, 2021, so technically it was 2021. However, it didn't start doing its imaging and all that kind of stuff
Until
until
2020.
2022 in February. So the mirror on it is 3 times the size of the
Wow.
Hubble, and then the aperture ring as well is like 3 times the diameter. So it's able to let in just so
Wow.
much more light and get those crazy images you may have seen. So I think it's just web.nasa.gov, or there's a website you can go to that's on NASA, and you can just see all the images. It's pretty cool, actually, what
Oh,
you
that's
can
cool.
see. So
I'll be looking it
Um,
up, so maybe I'll post a
yeah,
little.
I think it's a web like with 2 B's, webb.nasa.gov. I think I could be wrong on it off the top of my head, but if you just Google search web NASA, you'll get it.
Cool.
Another big thing I've seen in the last year, as the chip speeds and stuff have really kind of taken an almost like a generational leap. Every year there's new chips, and they're always better and better and better. However, the latest version of like the Intel chips, I think it's like Gen 11 and 12, are just so much more superior to Gen 10. And the same thing with the AMD Ryzen technology. When the Ryzen 7000 series came up, what happened was they used a method where they use a ton of tiny little pieces in the chip versus more. So it's like an army of tiny little nodes basically. And I forget what I said earlier, but
Darn it! It was a good phrase. I was like, we should use that.
Yeah. But basically, by using more little dots on the chip, they were able to do more processing. I'm not an engineer to know exactly the nuances, but I just know that they're using a lot more little dies on the chip, and that's for graphic editing and things like that. The Ryzen chips are really kind of surpassing by having all those little tiny little nodes on the chip. And then I think Intel is using that technology now in their latest and greatest chips too as well. So that's why the next generation of chips is really kind of taken a leap from the previous generation of. So,
which is why some of the techs have asked me to look for Gen 11, Gen 12 processors, which I never bothered looking at the Gen.
Right, to
part.
see, it's an i7, what's the big deal, or
Yeah,
i5
exactly.
or whatever it is.
That's
But
what I
the
always used to
generation
do.
is huge because that's where the architecture, the fundamental of how it's being run is upgrading. And the latest generation is definitely, if you're going to buy a new computer, definitely get the latest generation because it's going to future-proof you for a lot of that stuff.
Interesting. And with AI too, I mean, there's
Oh
probably
yeah,
going to be
tons
apps
of
that
computing with that.
are going to need more computing
Yep.
power, right?
Mhm.
More nanos.
Yes. Another technology that's kind of neat that I've seen I'm not sure if it's like technically OLED, but I've seen these Samsung TVs advertised where it's basically advertised no glare. So you can have a TV in your living room with the sun shining on it, and they're claiming it's matte with technology that'll basically, it's almost as good as like your cell phone outside, things like that. So they're having no glare TVs
interesting.
being invented now. They're pretty expensive. So I'm just going to wait, obviously let
Because
it
it's newer
buff out new
technology?
technology.
Okay.
Exactly. But they do make zero glare TVs. Again, I don't know how exactly zero glare it is, but I have seen that. That's kind of a new one that I've personally seen. It's been around for monitors for a little bit longer too, because monitors always kind of get the latest LED technology before the TVs because they're smaller as well. But now I've seen them starting to be advertised on the televisions as well, which is
And
kind of
that's
neat.
OLED.
I think it's OLED maybe, but I don't. OLED is also though what your phone is, and that can still glare. So I think Samsung is using like a technology. It's like a matte with OLED. I don't know the specifics.
You don't know the specific term. Okay.
Of what they're using, but I do know that just if you type it like zero glare TV, no glare, you'll see. I know Samsung is the main one off the top of my head. There are probably other vendors doing it too, but that's kind of a new push for the zero glare, that kind of thing. I do know that telehealth was a huge thing still, obviously with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. It kind of, started with that, but it's still nuanced now where even afterwards, it's now if you need a quick little doctor visit, you can just telehealth your phone rather than going all the way in if it's something that's minor. That has definitely been a new thing that's still expanding and still going, you know what I mean, to this day.
I did notice that more insurance companies have it now.
Yep.
I don't know how the relationship works, but
Yep.
I've used it. Have you used it?
I haven't really had to use it yet a lot because I don't,
I've used it for the kids.
But that's where I've heard is if you have kids and you want to, oh, my kids got, fever and stuff, I don't have to go all the way into the, bring them in and stuff. I just need to get, whatever
because
it
if
is.
they've had like ear infections before, the doctor knows, they can look at their history and then they say, okay, yeah, you need some antibiotics. Here you go. And
yeah,
off you go. I mean,
and if you don't live in town or you're 30 minutes away from the doctor or whatever, I mean, it's a huge time save. And
or you're
not
traveling.
to mention traveling, you got gas, whatever else. Not to mention rounding the kids up and bringing them somewhere. It's convenient to do it from your house for those quick, obviously non-emergency kind of doctor visits are huge.
Check with your insurance agency because I know Blue Cross has it.
Okay.
Yeah, they do.
Yep, we
They-
do ours. We have telehealth. I know.
Yep.
I didn't know if it was
It
a
used to
service
be-
that DS Tech offered or if it was through them. I wasn't sure the nuance.
We
there.
had an extra. It was on top of
Okay.
the other insurance, but now I believe
It's
it's
all
part of
intertwined.
part of the insurance now. That's why I mention it because before it was like an extra service,
Mhm.
extra bonus that DS
Yeah.
Tech provided for their employees.
But no, I know not a lot of places are doing that because
Yeah.
from the insurance company standpoint too, I mean, do they want to have to pay for you to have to go for an entire doctor visit and all that stuff? It's probably cheaper for them to pay for a telehealth
sure it
visit as
is.
well. So everyone's winning. You're saving time. The insurance company's saving money, and you're getting your service quicker. So
Yeah, and whatever doctor's on call too, so it saves everybody some time.
So
Awesome.
that's a big one. One thing I've seen in the industry is the insurance requirements for small businesses. When we're talking cyber insurance, the demand has gone up. So before, anyone could pretty much get cyber insurance, things like that, and now it's getting to the point where they want to make sure you're adhering to certain safety standards first. Are you getting passwords that are rotating every 6 months? Do you have passwords? Do you have local admins? All the different kind of things that we look at that an insurance company is going to see as a vulnerability or not. They're going to want you to be some sort of level of compliant before they just will insure you. Otherwise, it's too much of a liability. It's kind of like the way a car insurance. They're going to look at your driving record and they're going to see, oh, you have 20 speeding tickets and you're a horrible driver. We're not going to insure you because it's just going to cost. It's not worth our money. We can just see you're going to get an accident or a ticket and we're going to have to pay for it. Well, it's the same thing the cyber end. It's like, well, you don't have a firewall. You're not doing anything. You have all local admins. No one's using a password. If you have all this stuff, it's like, well, you're just waiting to be hacked, so we're not going to insure you against that because it's going to happen. So same kind of thing. You want to meet a certain level of requirements to meet that, but I do know that the insurance requirements for small businesses has been kind of going up. So that's kind of a trend that I've been seeing as well.
Yeah,
And
it does seem like every sales meeting we have, we're saying, well, now the insurance companies are asking for this.
And it's the newest thing that's, the government's trying to, make businesses secure through legislation and it's private industry. It's still kind of a whole cluster and they're kind of working through what's best practices. And so it's an evolving thing right now for sure.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away. So you're
No.
better off to just start dealing with it now and going into the future because it's the way it is with everything connected. So another thing, they're always touting quantum computing, and you see that all over too. And in my personal opinion, and again, I could be wrong on this, I still see it as this far off thing. It's for the everyday person to deal with quantum computing.
Tell me what quantum computing is. Can you say it in a way that I would understand?
Think of it like your light switch. Okay, you have a light switch on your wall, on and off. Okay, your lights are on, your lights are off.
Yep.
Inside of a computer, every program that is run with those basic idea, on or off, ones and zeros, bits. Okay.
Yep.
What quantum computing is doing is saying that it can be a 1 or a 0 at the same time.
Oh.
So it allows for a whole nother ways of programming, a whole nother ways of just rewriting things from the ground up. Okay, because in quantum physics, that's the idea of like, the Schrodinger's cat. You have a cat in a box, right?
Yeah.
Say you have a dead cat in a box, right? Until you look at the cat, does the cat exist? Is the kind of the weird thought process. So I guess until you actually look in the box, you have both a dead cat and an alive cat because you didn't confirm what was there when you open the box and you actually view it. So quantum computing is kind of the same thing where I think they're going to have programs that are written in a certain way, and until that is accessed or looked at, it can be different. So it allows for basically multiple processes to be happening at the same time in parallel, and for new ways of programming that could have never done before. Because normally it's like one thing here, a little bit there, a little bit there, but now it's going to be the bit can go in both directions depending on how it wants to go.
Interesting.
And so again, I'm probly butchering it. People that actually know this stuff are probably just like, oh, that's not.
What is he talking about, right?
But in my head, that's just kind of what I think it is. It's just the way it's programmed is going to be a whole nother way to allow.
It's a whole new way of looking at how
programming and technology is just even and light and is the.
It makes me think it'll be a lot bigger, faster.
Yes.
More.
And that's what they say is, quantum computing will break all the current existing ciphers and cryptos because it's going to be so much faster and so much on another level than the existing computing. So, but I think that's still,
in the future.
Quite a pipe. I could be wrong. Maybe it's 5 years down the road. I don't know.
But it's on our list for 2022. Is that because they've been working on it in 2022?
They've been working on it. There have been some leaps with different programs. I forget the exact ones, but they're working on it, and it's still in like the university lab. Obviously, I'm sure like government, military, and stuff like that, high end stuff. There's probably been playing with it a lot too. but it's just one of those things that I think for the consumer level to really get into quantum computing and to have to see what it is, it's going to be a little ways out till you actually start seeing that. And if it is
Gotcha.
out there, it might be something that you might not even know. Maybe I don't know if this is possible, but maybe, I look at architecture, 64-bit, 32-bit. There's probably going to be like a quantum bit where this program is coded in quantum code and you need a quantum processor to be able to run it, kind of thing, possibly. I'm not sure.
I would
but
imagine.
That's just how I see
I would
that.
imagine, but
So
that's
again,
kind of a futuristic
still
one.
futuristic kind of thing off, but it is something that,
That
people that are
is-
far smarter than I are working on and trying to solve this problem. Another one is shortage of graphics cards. Now, the whole crypto thing has been, people have been using graphics cards to mine the crypto, all that. So there's this huge chip shortage for that. So if you're a gamer for video games, it's been really hard to get a hold of a graphics card. And if you did, you're overpaying someone who's reselling it. It's just this whole thing. But lately, finally, it's starting to come down where the manufacturing is caught up. And I think part of that is because the crypto world is moving away from the idea of having to use computers. They still have proof of work. The idea of, Bitcoin is still going to do that. But a lot of the newer coins are moving to a thing called proof of stake, where basically it's a way to vet and be on the network using it without actually having to have a computer running calculations constantly. So there's people have been shifting to that, so it's kind of lowering the overall demand, and I think manufacturers are finally able to just start kind of keeping up. There's still kind of a chip shortage, but with just the GPUs, it seems like they're easier to get. It might be kind of hard right now because of the Christmas season, but just overall the trend I've seen where a year ago, 2 years ago, it was so hard to get one. It's much easier now. So that's a trend that's kind of going in the right direction too, where you finally get new graphics cards. And I think NVIDIA, I can't remember the exact type, but they're coming out with a new technology, even like a new die of a new way of making graphics cards. And I think it might be more for a smaller form factor, so they could start having high-end graphics in like laptops and things better than PC gaming. But I'll have to look into that a little bit more. One technology that is super cool that I like, and again, it's kind of a far off technology. I think it's probably not going to be for the average consumer for a while, is the idea of graphene batteries. Okay, we've all heard of the lithium batteries, the e-bikes, whatever, skates, all that kind of stuff is going to that. And, lithium batteries are great. Don't get me wrong. They last for so long and whatever else. But the idea, if you actually look at how the lithium batteries are made and stuff, it can not be as sustainable, the big open pits, things like that. It's still not super clean. So the idea with graphene is you're literally just suck carbon out of the environment. You just take carbon out, which is the whole, the green problem is we're getting too much carbon. So you can literally just suck carbon out of the air like a tree, make a single layer carbon lattice thing, and they stack these carbons up and create a battery out of graphene using basically just single layers of carbon. Now, I guess the best way to describe it is if you had an e-bike and you could go 50 miles on a charge, using the same weight, density, everything, if it was made out of this graphene material, you could get, that's like 4 to 5 times the distance and charge. So you're getting 200 to 250 miles on that same charge on an e-bike. So imagine that scaled up now for your Tesla vehicle. It gets 300 miles. What if your Tesla vehicle could get 1,200 miles on a charge?
Wow.
Not to mention it charges faster than lithium. So your time at the Tesla where you're sitting there letting your battery charge up takes 15, 20 minutes or whatever it is. Imagine if that was 5 minutes now instead of 20.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you'd have to listen to a song on the radio and you'd have to hit record and listen to the entire song at the speed that it was going. Eventually, you could download a song on the internet in 5 minutes and, a lot quicker. And so things are getting faster and faster. And that's just kind of what these graphene batteries is going to be a whole game changer. Like if they can learn to mass produce these and create them, and it's a cheap way for the average consumer, it's going to take all the idea of the battery and the e-stuff so much more. Because like a lawnmower for your house, with the little battery on it only lasts, 30, 40 minutes before the battery dies on it. It's not really good if you have a larger yard, but imagine if you had an electric lawnmower now where it actually would last 3-4 hours on a charge. It would actually be
that
feasible.
would actually work for somebody like me with a huge yard.
And so it just, that's where I see the next leap. I'm kind of hesitant to go to the whole, electronic vehicle, all that kind of stuff, just because I see the lithium batteries and how they're made, and I see that if they can do the same with graphene, that's where then they're going to get me to be on board of it, and it'll be kind of neat. So again, it's probably far off, probably 10, 20 years before they finally get it. But that was one you might hear talk of graphene batteries all the time, and that's what it is. Just think of it: it charges faster, it lasts longer, and has way more of a charge for the same size as lithium. And it's just sucking carbon out of the air to create. It's the perfect way to take a resource and create something. And then the last thing that is kind of more of a trend, at least DS Tech and for our small businesses, is the idea of, I guess you would say, continuous vulnerability management or scanning. Back in the day, it was kind of the idea of, once a month we audit everything, check for the updates, make sure there's no security holes. If there's new security holes this month, we'll plug them, and it was kind of a never going check. Well, once a month now is almost getting to the point where it's too slow. And companies that are really large like Google and Apple and all them stuff, they already do every single day, daily scans. Well, it's getting to the point now where small businesses are doing the daily scans and looking for things and vulnerability and trying to work towards that. So that's the idea, is continuous vulnerability management, looking at every day, looking at stuff on your network, and if there's issues, update them, versus once a month or once every 2 weeks, kind of doing a check.
Is that what our SOC does?
Yeah, we have like the SOC. We have, if you're a customer of ours and you have our security software in place, depending on the tier and stuff, there's different versions of it. But like the highest tier we basically have a device that's taking all the traffic in and out, looking at all that. It goes, basically then they look for security events that could be malicious, factoring those down to which could be security related, and then going to internal review where they have an actual human oversight and look at it in a high-end security team constantly, just checking for that kind of stuff.
That's like 24/7.
That's 24/7, every day, constant monitoring. What I'm going with the vulnerability is more where you'd go in and like you do like a scan.
What does SOC stand for?
I should know this.
Security. Is it Security Operations Center?
Yeah, Security Operations Center. Yeah, because basically just think of it, it's like sending all the data to a team of people that are constantly looking, that's all they do. They live and breathe security vulnerabilities all day long constantly, and then they can basically look, review, and then if there is something deemed, they'll kick it back to us if we need to get onto it, or they can a lot of times just fix the issue right then and there, with the tools we give them and stuff. So
pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. So something came in at 1 a.m. and obviously your business is 9 to 5, the SOC's still looking at all that traffic all the time, create alert, it can segment from the network, do all kinds of
that kind of goes back to our holiday shows where we were talking about, you're not in the office.
Yep.
I mean, there's somebody that's got your back if you have that, eh?
Oh, yes.
So
for sure. It's definitely something, I would, if you're a small business and you're dealing with holding on customer data, that's the biggest thing. If you got, customer social security numbers data, a lot of customer data being stored and stuff like that, you need to protect that, because when you hear about the breaches, Target was breached, Google was breached, whatever, all hackers are doing is looking for your customer data, and they're looking to sell that to someone else who's going to do bad things with it. Most hackers don't want the data to then use it and like pretend they're someone else and do the whole thing. They're just looking for the data so they can sell it. So
cool. So that's DS Tech's
Top 10 tech trends
of 2022.
Yes.
That's a lot of T's.
Yes.
So do you want to just recap what each one was?
Sure. Yeah, we got basically going down 1 to 10. You got the different AI. You got the James Webb Space Telescope was a big one. The chip type, so the newest versions of the Ryzens or the Intel versions of the chips. The zero glare TV or basically just LED technology. You got telehealth, so the ability to do doctor's appointments remote, the insurance requirements for small businesses, quantum computing, shortage of graphics cards is starting to finally die down, graphene batteries, and then finally the push towards continuous vulnerability management.
Which you can sign up for a free security scan.
You can do a free security scan to see what we do, for our customers. Yep.
Just email security@dstech.net. I do believe there is a form on DSTech.net's website. I'm not sure, but I think there's a form that you can fill in.
Put in, like, the name of your business.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is.
Okay.
I remember seeing it. Anyway, so do that and sign up for your newsletter at dstech.net. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next time.